Captain Jake Miller sat in his chair on the bridge of the USS Liberty, sipping his morning coffee. The coffee was getting cold, but Jake did not care much about that right now. He was looking at the stars through the big window in front of him. Space was quiet today, just the way he liked it. The USS Liberty was not a warship. It was a cargo ship. Jake and his crew were carrying food, medicine, and other supplies to Mars Colony. It was a normal job that Jake had done many times before. Nothing exciting ever happened on these trips, and that was fine with Jake. "Captain, we should reach Mars in about 6 hours," said Commander Lisa Adams. She was standing next to Jake's chair, holding a tablet with their flight information. Jake nodded and took another sip of his coffee. "Good. The sooner we deliver this stuff, the sooner we can go home." Lisa smiled. Jake always said the same thing on every trip. He was a simple man who liked simple things. He did not want adventure or excitement. He just wanted to do his job and go home to Earth. But today was going to be different. "Captain," shouted Communications Officer Jenny Kim from her station. "We have company." Jake looked up from his coffee cup. "Company? What kind of company?" Jenny's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. Her face looked worried. "Sir, I'm picking up 12 very large ships on our sensors. They just appeared out of nowhere." 12 ships? Jake frowned. "That's weird. Mars Colony didn't tell us about any other ships coming today." Before Jenny could answer, the space around the USS Liberty began to change. Massive ships appeared as if someone had turned on a light switch. These ships were huge, much bigger than the Liberty. They looked like metal cities floating in space. Their hulls were dark and covered with strange markings that glowed with purple light. "Holy cow," whispered Engineer Pete Johnson from his station. "Those things are enormous." Jake stood up from his chair, still holding his coffee cup. He walked to the big window and looked at the alien ships. They had formed a circle around the Liberty. There was no way out. "Well, this is new," Jake said calmly. On the largest alien ship, Admiral Claxon the Magnificent stood on his command bridge. He was 9 feet tall with blue skin and 4 arms. His uniform was covered with medals and ribbons. Behind him stood dozens of other aliens, all waiting for his orders. "Report," Admiral Claxon said in a deep voice. "Sir, we have found a primitive vessel from the 3rd planet of this system," said his second-in-command, Captain Zor. "The ship appears to be very basic. Their technology is ancient." Admiral Claxon smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Perfect. This will be easy. Open a communication channel to the primitive vessel." Back on the Liberty, Jenny's communication system started making noise. "Captain, they're trying to talk to us." "Put them on speaker," Jake said. He sat back down in his chair and took another sip of coffee. The bridge filled with a deep, scary voice speaking in a language no one understood. The words sounded angry and threatening. "Jenny, can you translate that?" Jake asked. "Working on it, sir. The computer is trying to figure out their language." Jenny typed quickly on her keyboard. After a few seconds, she nodded. "Got it. Playing translation now." The alien voice came through the speakers again, but now in English. "Attention, primitive beings. You have entered the territory of the mighty Zephyrian Galactic Empire. I am Admiral Claxon, the magnificent ruler of 1,000 worlds. You will surrender your vessel immediately or be destroyed." The bridge was quiet. For a moment, everyone looked at Jake, waiting to see what he would do. Jake took another sip of his coffee and frowned. "Jenny, did he just call us primitive?" "Yes, sir. He also said we should surrender or be destroyed." Jake sighed. "And I suppose he wants to talk to me right now?" "It sounds like it, sir." Jake looked at his coffee cup. The coffee was definitely getting cold now. He really wanted to finish it before it got any colder. "Tell him I'll be with him in a minute." I need to finish my coffee first. Jenny stared at Jake. Sir, are you sure? He said they would destroy us. Jenny, I haven't finished my coffee yet. A man needs his coffee. Jake took another sip. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? Jenny looked confused, but she did what Jake asked. She opened the communication channel and said, Admiral Claxon, Captain Miller says he will speak with you in a moment. He is currently finishing his coffee. On the alien ship, Admiral Claxon's 4 eyes went wide. In all his years of conquering primitive worlds, no one had ever asked him to wait while they finished a drink. Did they just put me on hold? Admiral Claxon asked his crew. Captain Zor checked his instruments. Sir, they appear to be playing some kind of music over the communication channel. Indeed, the Liberty's computer had automatically activated the hold music system. Soft jazz music began playing through the Zephyrian ship's speakers. The alien crew had never heard anything like it. What is this strange sound? Asked one of the aliens. Is it some kind of weapon? Asked another. Admiral Claxon listened to the smooth saxophone music. It was actually quite relaxing. I don't know. Keep monitoring their ship. This might be some kind of psychological warfare. On the Liberty, Jake was still drinking his coffee. Lisa came over to him with a worried look on her face. Jake, don't you think we should take this seriously? They have 12 huge ships, and they want us to surrender. Jake shrugged. Lisa, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Maybe they're lost or something. Once I talk to this Admiral guy, we can sort it all out. Pete Johnson called out from his station. Captain, those ships have enough firepower to turn us into space dust. Pete, relax. I'm sure they're nice people once you get to know them. Jake finished the last of his coffee and stood up. Okay, I'm ready now. Jenny, put me through to Admiral, what's his name? Jenny turned off the hold music and opened the communication channel. Admiral Claxon, Captain Miller is ready to speak with you now. Admiral Claxon had been listening to the jazz music for 15 minutes. Some of his crew members were actually swaying to the rhythm. When the music stopped, he almost felt disappointed. Finally, Admiral Claxon roared. Primitive being, you have kept the mighty Zephyrian Empire waiting. This is unacceptable. Jake picked up his communication headset. Sorry about that, Admiral. I'm Jake Miller, captain of the USS Liberty. What can I do for you today? Admiral Claxon was confused by Jake's friendly tone. Most primitive beings were terrified when they met the Zephyrian Empire. This human sounded like he was answering a phone call. You can surrender your ship and prepare to be taken as prisoners, Admiral Claxon said. Yeah, that's not going to work for me, Jake replied. We've got a delivery to make to Mars Colony. These people are expecting their supplies today. You dare refuse the demands of the Zephyrian Empire? Look, Admiral, I'm sure you're a nice guy and all, but I've got a job to do. If you want to, tag along until we finish our delivery. That's fine with me. But I can't just abandon these supplies. Admiral Claxon turned to his crew with a bewildered expression. His translator was working correctly, wasn't it? This primitive being was treating the conquest of his world like a minor inconvenience. The smooth jazz music had stopped, but somehow Admiral Claxon found himself missing it. Admiral Claxon stared at the communication screen showing Captain Jake Miller's face. The human looked completely relaxed, as if talking to a powerful alien empire was normal for him. This was not how conquests usually went. Human, do you understand who you are speaking to? Admiral Claxon asked, trying to sound more threatening. I am the ruler of 1,000 worlds. Entire star systems bow before my power. Jake scratched his head. That sounds like a lot of work. Do you have good health insurance? Managing 1,000 worlds must be stressful. Admiral Claxon's forearms twitched. No one had ever asked him about health insurance before. What is? Health insurance? You know, medical coverage. Doctor visits, dental, vision care, that sort of thing. Jake leaned back in his chair. With all that stress, you probably need regular checkups. The Admiral turned to his crew. What is he talking about? Captain Zoar whispered, Sir, I think he's asking about our medical systems. Why would he care about our medical systems? Admiral. Claxon whispered back. On the Liberty, Engineer Pete Johnson was having his own problems. He was trying to fix their long-range communication system so they could contact Mars Colony about the delay. But something went wrong with the repairs. Oops. Pete muttered as he accidentally connected their system to Earth's internet. Suddenly, every piece of information from Earth's global network began broadcasting to the alien ships. The Zephyrian fleet's computers were immediately flooded with millions of videos, pictures, news articles, and social media posts from Earth. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Sir, shouted a Zephyrian technician, the humans are sending us massive amounts of data. I think it's some kind of information attack. Admiral Claxon was still trying to understand the health insurance question when this new crisis started. What kind of data? I'm not sure, sir. There are millions of moving pictures of small, furry creatures. On the screen, a video of a cat playing with a ball of yarn appeared. The Zephyrian crew stared at it in silence. What is that creature? Admiral Claxon asked. Another video started playing. This one showed a cat knocking things off a table. Then, another video of a cat sleeping in a cardboard box. Sir, said Captain Zoar slowly, I think these small creatures might be Earth's ruling class. Why do you think that? Look how the humans serve them. In this video, a human is feeding the creature by hand. In this one, a human is cleaning up after the creature made a mess. Admiral Claxon watched more cat videos. The evidence was overwhelming. Humans clearly worked very hard to make these small, furry rulers happy. This changes everything, Admiral Claxon said. We may have encountered a species that is ruled by highly intelligent animals. Back on the Liberty, Dr. Amy Collins was trying to fix the situation. She was the ship's scientist and the only person who understood how important this first contact really was. Captain Miller, she said urgently, we need to handle this properly. This is humanity's first meeting with an alien species. We should follow proper diplomatic procedures. Jake was reading something on his tablet. Sure, Doc, you handle the fancy stuff. I'm just trying to figure out if we can still make our delivery on time. Dr. Collins took a deep breath and activated the communication system. Admiral Claxon, this is Dr. Amy Collins, Chief Science Officer of the USS Liberty. I would like to establish formal diplomatic contact between our species. But before Admiral Claxon could answer, Ensign Bobby Clark interrupted. Bobby was the youngest member of the crew, and he was very excited about meeting aliens. Wait, Dr. Collins, can I live stream this? Bobby had his phone out and was already recording. This is going to get so many views. First contact with aliens. My followers are going to love this. Bobby started talking to his phone camera. Hey everyone, Bobby here. You're not going to believe this, but we just met actual aliens. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Dr. Collins tried to stop him. Bobby, this is not appropriate for social media. But it was too late. Bobby's live stream was being broadcast, along with all the other Earth internet data. The aliens could see Bobby talking to his communication device. The human is speaking to a small rectangular object, observed Captain Zoar. It must be another one of their rulers. Sir, said a Zephyrian, communication expert, I've been analyzing their data transmissions. The humans seem to communicate using something called likes and subscribes. These appear to be very important to their society. Admiral Claxon nodded gravely. So they have a complex system of social ranking based on these likes. Fascinating. Bobby? was still live streaming. Okay guys, I'm going to try to get the alien leader to follow my channel. This is going to be epic. Bobby pointed his phone toward the main screen, showing Admiral Claxon. Admiral dude, you should totally check out my content. I post every Tuesday and Thursday. Admiral Claxon stared at the small device. Young human, are you asking me to submit to your likes and subscribes? Yeah, man. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Dr. Collins put her hand over her face. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Admiral Claxon was very confused now. First, the human captain had asked about health insurance. Then they had been shown evidence that Earth was ruled by small furry creatures. Now a young human was demanding that he submit to something called a notification bell. Captain Miller, Admiral Claxon said, "Your species is very strange." Jake looked up from his tablet. We get that a lot. Hey, while I have you here, are you interested in extending the warranty on your spaceship? My ... warranty? Yeah, you know, extended coverage for repairs and maintenance. These big ships must break down a lot. Admiral Claxon looked around his bridge. Actually, half of their systems were broken, and had been for years. Their engineers said the technology was too ancient and mysterious to fix properly. How did you know our systems need repairs? Admiral Claxon asked suspiciously. Lucky guess. Look, I know a guy who does great work on spaceships. His name is Pete Johnson, and he's right here on this ship. Maybe he could take a look at your problems. Pete looked up from his workstation. Did someone say something about fixing spaceships? Communications. Officer Jenny Kim finally managed to stop the internet data stream. Sorry everyone, I think I stopped the information flood. But the damage was already done. The Zephyrian Empire now believed that Earth was ruled by cats. Humans communicated through likes and subscribes. And Captain Miller was some kind of spaceship warranty salesman. Admiral Claxon called a meeting with his senior officers. Sir, said Captain Zor, what are your orders? Should we destroy the human ship? Admiral Claxon thought about everything he had learned. No, this species is too interesting to destroy. I want to study them more. But, sir, they refused to surrender. Captain Zor, they offered me health insurance and spaceship repairs. In my 300 years of conquest, no one has ever made such offers. Meanwhile, on the Liberty, Jake was getting impatient. How long is this going to take? He asked Lisa. We're already behind schedule. Jake, these aliens have weapons that could destroy us in seconds. Maybe we should take this more seriously. Jake shrugged. They seem nice enough. That Admiral guy is just confused about a few things. I'm sure we can work something out. Dr. Collins was still trying to establish proper communication protocols, but Bobby kept interrupting to promote his social media channels. And Pete Johnson had found something interesting in the alien ship data that had been accidentally transmitted during the internet flood. Captain, Pete called out, I think I know what's wrong with their ships. Admiral Claxon made a decision that would change everything. He wanted to understand these strange humans better, so he decided to send his best warriors to capture the human ship. This would show the humans the true power of the Zephyrian Empire. Captain Zor, prepare the Crimson Guard for boarding action, Admiral Claxon commanded. Send our 12 finest warriors to take control of the human vessel. Captain Zor bowed. Yes, sir. Should they use maximum force? No. I want to study these humans alive. Tell the Crimson Guard to capture them without causing too much damage. The Crimson Guard were the elite warriors of the Zephyrian Empire. They were 8 feet tall, had red armor, and carried energy weapons that could cut through metal. They had never failed in a mission. On the Liberty, Chief Security Officer Tony Martinez was in the ship's small gym. Tony was a big man who loved to exercise. He was doing his daily workout routine when the ship's computer announced an incoming transport. "Attention, crew. We have visitors coming aboard," the computer said in its calm voice. Tony wiped the sweat from his face with a towel. "Visitors? That's nice. I hope they don't mind that I'm a little sweaty." The 12 Crimson Guard warriors materialized in the Liberty's main corridor in flashes of red light. They looked around, expecting to see frightened humans running away. Instead, they saw Tony Martinez walking toward them with a friendly smile. "Hey there," Tony said cheerfully. "You guys must be the new crew members. Welcome aboard the Liberty." The leader of the Crimson Guard, Commander Grix, was confused. This human was not afraid. He was actually walking toward them. "Human, we are here to capture your vessel," Commander Grix announced. "Surrender now or face the consequences." Tony looked at their red armor and energy weapons. "Wow, that's some serious workout gear you guys have. Are you here for the CrossFit class?" "CrossFit?" Commander Grix had never heard this word before. "Yeah, it's a fitness program. Great for building strength and endurance." Tony looked at the warriors more closely. "You guys are in pretty good shape already. How much can you bench press?" The Crimson Guard looked at each other. They had trained for many types of combat situations, but no one had ever asked them about bench pressing. We do not understand," said Commander Grix. "No problem. I'll show you." Tony led the confused warriors toward the gym. "We've got weights, cardio equipment, the whole setup. You're going to love it." Before the warriors knew what was happening, they were standing in the ship's gym, watching Tony demonstrate proper lifting technique. "The key is to keep your back straight," Tony explained as he lifted a heavy barbell. "And always remember to breathe. Who wants to try first?" Meanwhile, cook specialist Maria Rodriguez was in the ship's kitchen preparing lunch. She heard voices in the corridor and decided to check on the visitors. Maria found the 12 alien warriors standing around Tony as he explained the difference between dumbbells and barbells. The aliens looked hungry to her. "Oh, you poor things," Maria said. "You must be starving after traveling through space. Let me make you some sandwiches." Before the Crimson Guard could object, Maria was bustling around the kitchen making food. She made 12 large sandwiches with turkey, cheese, lettuce, and tomatoes. "Here you go," she said, handing each warrior a sandwich wrapped in paper. "I made them extra big because you're all so tall." Commander Grix stared at the sandwich in his hands. In all his years as a warrior, no one had ever given him food during a battle. "What is this?" he asked. "It's a turkey sandwich. Very nutritious. Good protein for building muscle." Maria smiled at him. "Eat up, you need your strength." The other warriors looked at their sandwiches. They smelled really good. On the bridge, Captain Jake Miller was still talking to Admiral Claxon. Jake had no idea that alien warriors were on his ship. "So, Admiral, have you thought about that extended warranty?" Jake asked. "I can offer you a great deal on parts and labor." Admiral Claxon was watching his warriors through their helmet cameras. Instead of capturing the ship, they were exercising and eating sandwiches. "Captain Miller, what are your people doing to my warriors?" Jake looked confused. "Your warriors? Are they the guys in the red armor? I thought they were here for the gym membership drive." "Gym membership?" "Yeah, we're trying to promote fitness among the crew. Physical health is very important for space travel." Admiral Claxon watched as Tony Martinez spotted one of his warriors doing bench presses. The warrior was actually enjoying himself. "Commander Grix," Admiral Claxon spoke through the communication system. "Report your status." Commander Grix looked up from his sandwich. He had to admit, it was delicious. "Sir, the humans have offered U.S. food and exercise equipment. Their hospitality is Unexpected. You are supposed to be capturing their ship. Yes, sir, but this human Tony says we should work on our core strength first. He makes a good point about proper form. Admiral. Claxon could not believe what he was hearing. His elite warriors were taking fitness advice from the enemy. Back on the bridge, Communications Officer Jenny Kim was trying to explain to Jake that this was a serious situation. Captain, I don't think these are friendly visitors. They have weapons and armor. Jake waved his hand dismissively. Jenny, they seem nice enough. That Admiral fellow is just having some problems with his ships. I told him we could help. Jenny looked at Dr. Collins for support, but Dr. Collins was busy arguing with Bobby Clark, who was still trying to get the aliens to subscribe to his social media channels. Come on, Dr. Collins, this is going viral. We're at like 50,000 views already. Bobby was holding his phone up, recording everything. Bobby, put that away. This is not entertainment. Dr. Collins said. Jake picked up his communication headset again. Admiral Claxon, are you still there? Yes, Captain Miller. I am trying to understand your people. Well, we're pretty simple folks. We do our jobs, we help our friends, and we try to stay healthy. Jake paused. Speaking of healthy, have you considered our extended warranty program? It covers all major systems and includes free maintenance checks. Admiral Claxon was quiet for a moment. Half of his ship's systems were broken, and his engineers had been unable to fix them for years. What kind of maintenance do you offer? He asked. Oh, all kinds of stuff. Engine repairs, life support systems, weapons maintenance. My guy, Pete, is really good with machinery. Engineer Pete Johnson looked up from his station. Did someone mention my name? Pete, Admiral Claxon here might need some help with his ship repairs. Can you take a look at their technical problems? Pete cracked his knuckles. Sure thing, Captain. I love a good challenge. Admiral Claxon transmitted some of his ship's technical data to the Liberty. Pete looked at it for about 30 seconds and started laughing. What's so funny? Jake asked. Captain, their advanced alien technology is just a really complicated version of stuff we use every day. Look at this. Pete pointed to his screen. They call this a quantum energy distribution matrix, but it's basically just a power grid with too many unnecessary parts. Jake looked at the data. Even he could see that the alien technology was overly complex. Admiral, your engineers have been overthinking things, Jake said. Sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. Admiral Claxon was starting to realize that his mighty empire might have some serious problems. Captain Miller, are you saying that your technology is more advanced than ours? Not more advanced, Jake replied. Just more practical. In the gym, Tony Martinez was teaching the Crimson Guard how to do squats properly. The warriors were surprisingly good students. Remember, keep your feet shoulder-width apart, Tony instructed, and don't let your knees go past your toes. Commander. Grix was enjoying the workout. It was much more interesting than the boring guard duty he usually did on the ship in the kitchen. Maria Rodriguez was making a second round of sandwiches because the warriors had eaten all the first ones. You boys have good appetites, she said cheerfully. That's the sign of a healthy metabolism. The warriors had never experienced such kindness from people they were supposed to capture. They were starting to think that maybe the humans were not enemies after all. Admiral Claxon called another meeting with his senior officers. Sir, said Captain Zor, your orders? Admiral Claxon thought about everything that had happened. His warriors were exercising and eating sandwiches. The humans had offered him health insurance and spaceship repairs. And apparently, his advanced technology was actually less practical than human technology. Captain Zor, I think we may have made a mistake. Admiral Claxon's pride was about to take a serious hit. He had agreed to let the human engineer Pete Johnson look at their ship's problems. It was supposed to be a simple demonstration of how primitive human technology was compared to Zephyrian. Engineering. Pete Johnson transported over to the alien flagship with a small toolbox and a cheerful attitude. When he saw the Zephyrian engine room, his jaw dropped. "Holy smokes," Pete whispered. "This place is huge." The engine room was the size of a football field. Massive machines hummed and sparked with purple energy. Alien engineers in white robes moved around like they were performing a religious ceremony. Chief Engineer Vex approached Pete. He was an old Zephyrian with 6 arms and a very serious expression. "Human, you cannot possibly understand our advanced technology. These engines are powered by quantum flux generators that have operated for 1,000 years. Pete walked over to one of the big machines and listened to it carefully. He pulled out a small device from his toolbox and held it near the engine. "Yeah, I can hear the problem," Pete said. "Your quantum flux generator has a clogged filter." Chief Engineer Vex's 6 eyes went wide. "Impossible. The sacred flux filters cannot be clogged. They are made of pure crystallized energy." Pete looked closer at the machine. "Buddy, I don't care what they're made of. Something is blocking the flow." He opened his toolbox and pulled out a roll of silver tape. "Hand me that wrench." "You cannot repair our engines with primitive tools." Chief Engineer Vex protested. "Watch me," Pete said with a grin. 20 minutes later, Pete had fixed the quantum flux generator with duct tape, a wrench, and a can of WD-40. The engine was running better than it had in decades. Chief Engineer Vex stared at his instruments in shock. "The efficiency has increased by 40%. "How did you do that?" "Simple," Pete explained. "Your filter was clogged with space dust. I cleaned it out and sealed a small leak in the energy conduit with tape. The WD-40 got rid of some rust on the moving parts. But we have tried to repair this engine for 50 years. Pete shrugged. "Sometimes you just need fresh eyes on a problem." News of Pete's repair job spread quickly through the Zephyrian fleet. Within an hour, Pete had requests to fix engines on all 12 ships. Meanwhile, Dr. Amy Collins had finally gotten a chance to examine some Zephyrian technology. What she found was shocking. "Captain Miller," she said over the communication system, "I need to show you something." Jake was still on the bridge, finishing his 3rd cup of coffee. "What's up, Doc?" Dr. Collins held up a Zephyrian food device. "They call this a quantum molecular food synthesizer, but it's just a really complicated microwave oven." "A microwave?" "Yes. It uses the same basic technology as the microwave in our break room, but it has about 1,000 unnecessary parts." Dr. Collins shook her head. "Their atmospheric processing units are just fancy air conditioners." Jake laughed. "So their super advanced technology is just normal stuff with extra bells and whistles?" "Exactly. It's like they took simple machines and made them as complicated as possible." On the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Claxon was having a crisis. His engineers were reporting that the human Pete Johnson had fixed more problems in 2 hours than they had solved in 50 years. "Sir," reported Captain Zor, "the human has repaired the main engines, the life support backup systems, and the food synthesizers on ships 4 through 7. How is this possible?" Admiral Claxon demanded. "He says our engineers have been overthinking everything. According to him, most of our problems can be fixed with something called basic maintenance." Admiral Claxon felt a headache coming on. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, masters of the galaxy, had been defeated by basic maintenance. Back on the Liberty, pilot Steve Baker was looking at the formation of alien ships outside their windows. "Captain," Steve called out, "those big ships are having trouble staying in formation. They keep bumping into each other." Jake looked out the window. Sure enough, The massive Zephyrian vessels were slowly drifting into each other like cars in a parking lot. That's weird. You'd think they'd be better at flying those things. Steve watched as one of the alien ships scraped against an asteroid. Captain, I think they have trouble with spatial navigation. What do you mean? I mean they can't park. Jake stared at Steve. They can't park their spaceships. Not very well. Look at that one. Steve pointed to a Zephyrian ship that was slowly rotating in the wrong direction. He's been trying to turn around for 10 minutes. Jake activated his communication system. Admiral Claxon, do you need some help with your ship formations? There was a long pause before Admiral Claxon answered. Captain Miller, our pilots are having some minor navigation difficulties. Steve here is a great pilot. Maybe he could give your guys some pointers. Steve Baker had been flying spaceships for 15 years. He loved his job and was very good at it. Sure, Captain. I'd be happy to help. An hour later, Steve was on the Zephyrian flagship teaching their pilots how to parallel park a starship. It turned out that Zephyrian pilots had been trained to fly in straight lines through empty space. They had never learned how to maneuver around obstacles or other ships. The trick is to use your rear sensors, Steve explained to a group of confused alien pilots. And don't be afraid to back up slowly. These big ships need lots of room. Pilot Krall, who had been flying for 200 years, raised his hand. Human Steve, what do you do when there are many ships close together? Oh, that's easy. You just take turns. First ship goes, then the next ship goes. It's called traffic management. The Zephyrian pilots looked at each other. They had never heard of traffic management. But what if two ships want to go to the same place? Asked another pilot. Steve smiled. Then you wait your turn. Or you ask nicely if you can go first. It's called being polite. The concept of politeness in space travel was completely new to the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Claxon watched from his command center as his pilots learned basic courtesy from a human. His mighty empire was being taught manners by people they were supposed to conquer. Sir, said Captain Zor quietly, perhaps we should reconsider our approach to these humans. Admiral Claxon nodded slowly. Captain Zor, I think you are right. On the Liberty, Jake was getting impatient again. How much longer is this going to take? We still need to deliver our supplies to Mars. Commander Lisa Adams checked her watch. We're already 4 hours behind schedule, Jake. I know, but these alien folks seem to need a lot of help. Jake looked out at the Zephyrian ships, which were now flying in neat, organized formations, thanks to Steve's lessons. At least they're not bumping into each other anymore. Pete Johnson's voice came over the communication system. Captain, I've fixed all their major systems. These aliens have been struggling with problems that would take us about 5 minutes. To solve ... Dr. Collins added, Captain, their technology isn't more advanced than ours. It's just more complicated. They've been making simple things difficult for centuries. Jake scratched his head. So let me get this straight. These aliens who rule 1,000 worlds can't fix their own machines, can't fly their ships properly, and don't know how to be polite? That's about right, Lisa replied. Jake activated his communication system. Admiral Claxon, can I ask you something? Yes, Captain Miller. How exactly did you guys conquer 1,000 worlds if you can't fix your own ships? There was a very long pause before Admiral Claxon answered. Captain Miller, I am beginning to wonder the same thing. 3 days later, Admiral Claxon stood in the conference room of his flagship, looking at a contract. It was not a surrender document or a treaty of conquest. It was a service agreement with something called Human Technical Solutions, LLC. Captain. Jake Miller sat across from him, drinking coffee and looking completely relaxed. Next to Jake sat his crew, Pete Johnson with grease stains on his uniform, Dr. Amy Collins with a tablet full of technical notes, and Steve Baker, who was drawing diagrams of proper spaceship parking techniques. So let me understand this correctly. Admiral Claxon said slowly, "You are offering to fix all of our technical problems across the entire Zephyrian Empire?" Jake nodded. "That's right. Pete here says most of your problems are pretty easy to solve. Dr. Collins can help your scientists understand why your technology is so complicated. And Steve can teach your pilots how to fly without crashing into things." Admiral Claxon looked at his own officers. Captain Zor was reading a human manual titled Basic Engine Maintenance for Dummies. Chief Engineer Vex was watching a video on Pete's tablet about proper tool usage. Their best pilots were taking notes on Steve's parking diagrams. And in return? Admiral Claxon asked. "Well, we still need to deliver our supplies to Mars Colony," Jake said. "But after that, we can set up a proper customer service center. You call us when you have problems, and we help you fix them." Dr. Collins leaned forward. "Admiral, your empire has amazing resources and knowledge. You just need better practical application. We can help with that." Pete wiped his hands on a rag. "Plus, some of your advanced materials could really improve our basic tools. It's a win-win situation." Admiral Claxon thought about everything that had happened. In 3 days, the humans had solved problems that had plagued his empire for centuries. His ships were running better than ever. His pilots could actually fly in formation without accidents. And his warriors were in the best shape of their lives, thanks to Tony Martinez's fitness program. "There is one condition," Admiral Claxon said. Jake raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Your cook, Maria Rodriguez, must teach our food specialists how to make those sandwiches." Jake laughed. "I think we can arrange that." Admiral Claxon signed the contract with his 4 hands. "Captain Miller, I hereby appoint you as the first Admiral of Practical Solutions for the Zephyrian Empire." "Thanks, but I'll have to pass on." "The Admiral thing," Jake said. "I like being a cargo ship captain, but we can definitely set up that customer service center." Jenny Kim stepped forward. "I can handle customer relations. I'm pretty good at dealing with communication problems. And I can run the technical support department," Pete added. "Most of your problems are just basic maintenance issues anyway." Dr. Collins nodded. "I can set up training programs to help your engineers think more practically." Steve Baker grinned. "And I can start a flight school for your pilots. Steve's Space Driving Academy has a nice ring to it." Admiral Claxon felt something he had never experienced before: relief. For the first time in centuries, his empire's problems were actually getting solved instead of getting worse. 2 weeks later, the Human Customer Service Center was operational. Jenny Kim sat at a communication console that could reach any part of the Zephyrian Empire. She wore a headset and had a cup of coffee next to her keyboard. "Thank you for calling Human Technical Solutions. This is Jenny. How can I help you today?" she said cheerfully. The voice on the other end belonged to General Fake of the Outer Rim Fleet. "Yes, hello. Our main computer keeps making a beeping noise and showing error messages." "Okay, General Fake. Have you tried turning the computer off and then turning it back on again?" "Turn it off? But what if it doesn't turn back on?" "Don't worry, it will. Just hold down the power button for 10 seconds. Wait a minute, then press it again." There was a pause. Then General Fake's voice came back, sounding amazed. "It worked! The beeping stopped and the error messages are gone." "Great. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" Well, actually, our food synthesizer has been making everything taste like metal. That's probably a dirty filter. Let me transfer you to Pete in our technical department." Meanwhile, Pete Johnson was in his workshop fixing a quantum drive that had been sent from halfway across the galaxy. The Zephyrian engineers had called it impossible to repair, but Pete had found the problem in 5 minutes. "Roy, hand me that." "Wrench," Pete called to his new assistant, Roy Thompson, who had joined the team from Earth. Roy Thompson was a maintenance worker who specialized in fixing things that other people couldn't fix. He had come to space specifically to work on alien technology. "Which wrench?" Roy asked. "The regular one or the quantum-calibrated one?" "The regular one. This quantum stuff is just marketing. It's still just a machine that needs normal maintenance." Roy handed Pete the wrench. "These aliens really overthink everything, don't they?" "You have no idea," Pete replied. "Yesterday, I fixed the temporal flux regulator with a $20 part from Earth." In another part of the space station, Dr. Collins was teaching a class to Zephyrian scientists. The classroom was full of aliens taking notes as she explained basic engineering principles. "The key to good design is simplicity," Dr. Collins said, pointing to a diagram on the wall. "If you can't explain how something works to a child, then it's probably too complicated." Chief Scientist Borg raised his hand. "But Dr. Collins, how can simple designs be as powerful as complex ones?" "Because complex designs break more often. Simple designs are reliable." Dr. Collins smiled. "Your ancestors built amazing things, but they forgot that maintenance is just as important as creation." The Zephyrian scientists looked at each other. This concept was revolutionary to them. Steve Baker was in the Flight Simulator Training Center, teaching advanced parking techniques to a group of alien pilots. On the screen, a virtual spaceship was slowly backing into a tight space between two asteroids. "Remember, use your mirrors and take your time," Steve instructed. "There's no rush. Better to park slowly and safely than to crash and embarrass yourself." Pilot Vex was concentrating hard on the controls. "Human Steve, what if? There are other ships waiting behind me. Then they wait. Good pilots are patient pilots." The concept of patience was also new to the Zephyrian Empire. Back on the main communication console, Jenny was handling her 15th call of the day. "Human Technical Solutions. This is Jenny." "Hello, this is Admiral Rex of the Crystalline Hegemony." Jenny paused. The Crystalline Hegemony was supposed to be the Zephyrian Empire's greatest enemy. Admiral Rex, how did you get this number?" "Admiral Claxon gave it to us. Our planet killer weapon keeps shutting down with something called a blue screen of death. He said you could help." Jenny looked around the office. Pete was fixing alien engines. Dr. Collins was teaching alien scientists, and Steve was helping alien pilots learn to park. Why not help the enemy too? "Okay, Admiral Rex, have you tried updating your drivers?" An hour later, Jenny had walked Admiral Rex through a complete system update for his planet killer weapon. It turned out that the Crystalline Hegemony had the same technical problems as everyone else in the galaxy. "Thank you so much," Admiral Rex said gratefully. "Our weapon is working perfectly now. Would it be possible to sign up for regular technical support?" "Of course. We offer several service packages. Let me transfer you to our sales department." That evening, Jake Miller finally finished his delivery to Mars Colony. He was 6 days late, but the colony administrator was understanding when Jake explained about starting an interstellar technical support business. Jake sat in his captain's chair, drinking coffee and looking at the reports from his crew. In 1 week, they had solved more problems for the Zephyrian Empire than the Empire had solved in centuries. They had also accidentally started providing technical support to the Empire's enemies. "Captain," Lisa Adams said, "we've got 3 more requests for help. The Andromedan Republic wants us to fix their transportation system. The Silicon Confederacy needs help with their computer networks. And something called the Hive Mind Collective is having trouble with their group consciousness software." Jake sighed. "I guess we're not in the cargo business anymore." Dr. Collins walked onto the bridge, holding a communication device. "Captain, I just got a call from Earth. The United Nations wants to know if we've started an interstellar repair service without telling them. What did you tell them? I told them it just sort of happened. Jake laughed. That's about right. Jenny's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain Miller, we have incoming call from someone called the Dark Lord of the Void. His evil lair's air conditioning is broken, and he sounds really upset about it. Jake took another sip of his coffee. Put him through, Jenny, and ask him if he's interested in our extended warranty program. Lisa looked at Jake with amazement. You know, when we started this supply run, I never thought we'd end up as the galaxy's customer service department. Life's funny that way, Jake replied. Sometimes you just have to help people fix their problems. On the main screen, a terrifying figure in black armor appeared. His voice was deep and threatening. Human, my lair is becoming uncomfortably warm. Fix this immediately or face my wrath. Jake smiled and activated his headset. Good evening, Dark Lord. This is Captain Miller from Human Technical Solutions. I understand you're having some climate control